Well, I've always been really interested in ancient history, particularly the Hellenistic era. After the death of Alexander the Great and the subsequent power struggles between his successors, and Pyrrhus was one of the most warlike of those Hellenistic kings who succeeded Alexander, and also the only one who invaded Italy and encountered the nascent Roman Republic as it was then, which led to the clash between the two dominant forms of military formations in the ancient world at that time, being the Roman legion and the Hellenistic pike phalanx. So that's always been really fascinating, and obviously that led on to the wider struggle for the Mediterranean between Rome and the Hellenistic world, and also Carthage. So everything's very much in flux militarily and politically at that time in that part of the world. So it's a really fascinating period to wargame. So far, it's probably taken about 8 months to a year, I would say, putting it on and off. The cavalry was the units that took the longest, because obviously I tend to paint the riders separate to the mounts. I find that easier to do, and obviously in Hail Caesar, the core units of the army are phalanxes, so they get bigger unit sizes, so you have more miniatures to paint. So it's just a case of like batch painting of the units. But once I got the core of the army paint, which was the pike phalanx units and the cavalry, everything else it becomes slightly easier to paint because you're into more kind of like normal unit sizes of just like 2 ranks. But yeah, so about 8 to 12 months so far. Favourite unit is probably the Hetone cavalry at the moment, because they're a really hard-hitting elite cavalry unit if you upgrade them to be elites. I mean, they're pretty good to start with anyway, but if you upgrade them to elites, they can pretty much punch through most other units, bar other phalanxes really. But yeah, so they're probably my favourite unit, and cavalry always looks really cool on the battlefield anyway. I tend to really like cavalry. As to play on the table, they're like any other kind of Hellenistic pike phalanx army. They're a super elite army really, combined arms force, so they're pretty forgiving. So they tend to only really run into trouble against another pike phalanx army, another successor army, or like say the Romans, give them to run for the money as they did in real life. So they're pretty forgiving if you're new to Hail Caesar, along with Romans really. They're again a very elite army centred around heavy infantry, elite cavalry, in that Western style that was dominant in that time period for hundreds of years. So yeah, they're not a bad army to start off with. For what's next, I'm probably going to add next some Greek hoplite infantry to represent the Tarentine infantry, who were Pyrrhus's allies when he invaded Italy, which was at the request of Tarentum, which was the major city in Magna Graecia, which was the southern portion of Italy. At that time, Rome had not dominated the peninsula, and they were in conflict with the Rome, which was the rising power in Italy at that time. So they'll represent the Tarentines. And then probably some Galatians, for which I'll use the plastic Gauls, because the Galatians are just the Gauls that settled in the east in a province called Galatia, hence the name. And as Pyrrhus's campaigns went on, he tended to replace a lot of his lost troops with Galatian mercenaries, especially when he returned to Greece and campaigned to retake the Macedonian throne. So again, they're a characterful unit that you can add into the army. You've got a lot of choice of different units, so you'll never really get bored of painting, as long as once you get that core of your pike phalanx painted, you can start adding on all sorts around it.